year ago this time, you were literally bedbound in a wheelchair because you chose to push a limit. What do you think is the reason why you're like,
it was, hey, the Canadian all-time squat record is only 7 kilos better than your best. You are pain-free. You are 20 pounds heavier and leaner. You can do this. You can go take that record. I got unlucky. I lost my balance a little bit, and the bottom of the squat was 750. Both my quad tendons ruptured.
Paul Oneid is a strength coach and mentor who's turned his own comeback story into a playbook for others.
After an injury left him sidelined, he pushed through and now helps people raise their standards, bounce back from setbacks, and build confidence through discipline and hard work.
you're very accountable to those things, and then you take that serious?
My word is everything that I have. So if I'm going to show up for somebody, especially in exchange of money for services, I want to over-deliver on those services to make sure that that person gets the best of me at all times.
What do you say to the people that are like, you know what, I need some motivation to get going? Where do you help them?
I think it comes down to...
On this episode, you're going to hear from Paul Oneid, one of the top powerlifting and bodybuilding coaches that are out there, that runs Coach's Corner U, and he's really just about raising the bar. This is a great episode to talk about how do you actually, bring yourself back and set the standard with yourself so that you lead through example through others. I think you're going to get a lot out of this episode, and you're going to learn a little bit about life and accountability and the ability to push through your limits. Paul ripped both of his quads last year and just finished up being on stage with all the lights on him, looking incredible. So if you ever wanted to kind of hear a story of a coach that's been through it himself, this is the story for you. Awesome. Well, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, man. Shoot, man. You've been all around the world and back, changed your life a few times. Yeah. You still look good for it.
I mean, we're trying.
We'll try. This is what trying looks like?
Yeah, pretty much.
Awesome. I think you got a hell of a story. Come a long way. I mean, this last year has been unbelievable. But before we talk about this last year, to the point where you can't even walk, let's talk about like what got you here, right? Like, you're a coach. Who is Paul?
Oh, Paul is a husband. Paul is a son. Paul is a friend. Paul is a mentor. He's a coach. He's someone who pursues hard things on purpose and is always seeking to be the best version of himself through whatever he tries to do. That started out as a young collegiate strength coach who picked up and moved from Ottawa, Ontario to South Florida with, after working 4 jobs and saving $10,000 to pay because he wasn't allowed to work while he was in the country. Then getting my first GA job at Robert Morris University.
Is that where you started? Where did you go in South Florida?
USF.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So I was there with Ron McKeefery and Fred Blittrick. Yeah. And then I went to...
Ron's a man.
I went to RMU with Todd Hammer. While I was there, I started a master's degree at USF. I left early to take that GA job in Pittsburgh. Graduated, finished my GA, moved back as the associate head at University of Tampa. While I was at Tampa, I finished my second degree, my second master's at USF, graduated. My brother had his first kid, so I moved back to Canada and was that first full-time head strength coach in collegiate athletics in Canada.
What's cool?
Queen's University.
Cool.
In Kingston, Ontario. I was there for a year and then decided to pursue my own business, Master Athletic Performance. Ended up working full-time for an insurance company in disability rehab while I built that up. It allowed me to work from home. And truthfully, at the time, I didn't realize what a benefit it was, but I went from working with high-level performers in a weight room to trying to convince, general population people with mental health issues, physical disabilities that, hey, this is a little bit different than coaching 110s on a football field. I'm trying to convince you that if you go outside and walk to your mailbox, you're not going to die.
Yeah.
It was a different application.
Different audience. Yeah.
Different audience, different communication style. And that has allowed me now to develop this superpower of creating relationships. Master Athletic Performance started out as just me. Then my wife came on. We've hired 5 other coaches.
Your wife's more jacked than you, by the way.
My wife is more
jacked. Just want to establish that. I want to make sure everyone know. I was going to say, you're like, who is Paul? Everyone's like, oh, I'm this, I'm that. And the other thing, I'm like, now Paul's jacked. That's what I do. Paul's jacked. I'm a little disappointed. I told you I was going to do this with my shirt off.
Do you want to go shirts off?
I mean, I'm okay, baby. Let's rock and roll. Fuck. I am like, look, I am stage ready all the time. Do you know why?
Because you don't care.
Because I could get her. Here's the one thing I will know. No matter what, No matter what, out of all of the things that happen, there's not a light bulb that's off when you're on stage in a bodybuilding competition. They see every nook and cranny. So you have to be like a master at almost architecting your own body and chiseling out yourself. So I've learned to like not. I wish I had more body image issues because I would probably take a better care of myself. But I always have learned, like, number one, I was a good athlete growing up. Number two, I could still take care of myself, right? Like, there's the joking is like, hey, I work out just enough so that I could fight and fuck, right? And I don't fight anymore, really. And it's the other one is, well, I never really did that well anyway, so not my thing.
It's using that analogy, I think is perfect because I think in daily life as a coach, as a mentor, there are no light bulbs off. Everyone's always watching me. I'm always the example for which I set for the people that I work with. And I think if more people adopted that mentality, we'd have a lot of incredible coaches and we'd have a lot of amazing service in the industry as well.
Yeah. And I think that what's interesting about your journey, and at least kind of going back from the beginning, you started in the sports performance side of things, right? And now you do a lot of body comp, but you do a lot of like, getting guys ready, stronger and better looking, which I think is really valuable. But what's also really cool is you take the concepts in the process of like performance. It's like, hey, how do I push my limit? So like there's this idea, I believe every human like has that desire for greatness. Some not so much, but the ones that do, the ones that have the desire for greatness, they want to push their limits.
Yes.
So it's like, hey, if you're going to push your limits, the first thing you have to do is understand that you don't know where the limit is until you break it, until you go past the line. You never know where the line is until you pass it. You push the limit, right? Last year, and again, sometimes like in my athletic career, to be honest with you, like maybe my body failed me, whatever the excuse is, I didn't get to that certain point, but I did push a limit. You're walking right now, you look great on stage, you still got some of that tan on you, but you also put some weight under the bar.
Mm-hmm.
What's that like? What's it like to actually load yourself up to the point and be like, hey, am I going to die right now because this is heavy?
I always compared, squatting 800 pounds. My best gym lift was 850. My best comp squat was 805. I always compared the feeling of standing at the top of a powerlifting platform with 800 pounds in your back feels like you're dying. But as soon as you stand up out of the hole, you're alive.
That's awesome.
And finding your limits is something that I truly don't think I've found my limits. I've broken myself in certain areas.
Yeah. That doesn't mean that you're done though.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. The goal of finding limits stays the same. The medium or the vehicle changes.
Nice.
And that's where I try to work with people on their level is at what point are you so uncomfortable that you feel like dying so that we can get you to the point where you feel alive.
And an example of that, just last year, like a year ago this time, you were literally bedbound in a wheelchair because you chose, like it wasn't like an accident. You chose to push your limit. Not many people choose. Before we get to like the injury, before we get to like what took place, that was a self commitment internal. Like I made that decision internally to push my limit every day. Like what do you think is the reason why you're like, what, I'm choosing to put myself under a load because I believe that if I come out on the other end, if I get up out of here, I feel better. I'm a better person for it. I'm a better leader for it. I'm a better mentor because I push myself. Not saying that there's a lot of people that could just talk it, but walking your talk is a really important thing.
Absolutely. Extrinsically, it was, hey, the Canadian all-time squat record is only 7 kilos better than your best. You are pain-free at this point. You are 20 pounds heavier and leaner. You can do this. You can go take that record.
Sure.
So the plan was do a warm-up meet and in July and then in December, take the record.
Nice. That's awesome.
I got unlucky on the platform.
Shit happens, man. Shit happens. People don't realize that.
You're off by an inch, you're off by a mile. I lost my balance a little bit and the bottom of a squat was 750. Both my quad tendons ruptured.
Yeah, and I think that people don't realize that the room for error when the load is so high, just like the room for error when the velocity is so high is, it's a micro moment. It's just a slight adjustments that just the wind blows and boom, and it's like that because the pendulum just doesn't shift. It swings heavy. And when something like that, when you already have the load that's that heavy, it swings really, really fast. So, you're in the barbell squat, you come out of it, and
Pop.
boom, boom, both your quads, not just one. Like pushing a limit on like any sort of muscle or tendon is unbelievable. It's like cracking rebar. People don't realize like how strong it is. So to put yourself into that load, you had to put it under some serious limits.
Yeah, I ended up having bilateral patellar fractures, full avulsions to my patella.
Ripped it right off the bone.
Yep. And, in that moment, it was interesting in retrospect because I was totally at peace with the fact that I fucked myself up.
No way.
I didn't freak out. It felt like someone hit me on the knees with 2 hammers and then there was no pain. I'm lying, I dumped the bar behind me and I was lying on my chest on the floor and everyone's going nuts.
Yeah, because they probably heard it.
And I was just like, hey, can you guys get my belt off? Roll me over. I'm okay. I know my quads are done. That's what happened. Can you guys load me into a chair, bring me to the back? They called the ambulance. And I didn't actually break down until I saw my wife and I made eye contact with her.
Well, that will change the way you feel. Yeah, just the emotion of it, right?
I knew that this would be harder on her than it was for me.
And when was it? Like the rehab and everything else, was it?
I think the fact that I took my rehab so seriously took a lot of...
So you ran all in.
I went all in. But, my wife's an IFBB wellness competitor. She's trying to manage our household and our dogs and her competition and her training, all while making sure, hey, Paul, I need you to make a meal plan for yourself, what time you're going to eat, what supplements you need, and I'll make sure that they're there for you. Whenever you need your pee jugs emptied, that's when we're going to do it. Whenever you go to the bathroom, because I couldn't get to the rest.
Oh God, no, you couldn't walk.
I had to use.
How long were you literally not able to walk?
5.5 weeks.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I couldn't shower for 5.5 weeks. So I had my mom come over, put me in the wheelchair. We took me out to the front steps.
Water you down?
Hose me.
Yeah, baby. Yeah.
We did that a couple times a week. I had like wipes and stuff to give myself horse baths. And then it was just all hands on deck. Me as a burden on other people.
That's probably, I was like, was it harder that, you've lost a little bit of like your ability to physically do what you want to do? Because you enjoy training. Oh, you really enjoy it. I think there's a lot of people that don't understand, like the people that like training, then there's some people that don't, right? Like you really enjoy it, not just physically, but emotionally and mentally, and you pour into it. And it's an enjoyable thing. You take it seriously. It's obviously why you look and perform the way you do. Was it harder because you weren't able to do that? Or was it harder because for a part of your life that you've been there so much for so many other people that now you were a burden on people? Because that's probably just as hard emotionally than it was physically for you not to be able to do it.
Not even close.
Which one?
Not even close. It was being a burden on others is my number one emotional trigger.
Ooh.
It was flat out in my face that I had zero autonomy and that I was a burden on other people. Other people had to accommodate for me. My wife had to accommodate for me. And maybe it's a bit of machismo, but I am the man of the house. I am the caretaker. I am the protector. And in that instance, I was none of those things.
Yeah. I'm the man of the house, except my wife wears the pants in the relationship. So I don't know what
Liv says he flips.
You figure that.
I wear the pants. She does the laundry.
She definitely has bigger quads than you now, more so than ever. But I think it's interesting to think about that. Like sometimes the burdens that we think are the hardest to deal with is not the depression of us not being able to be capable of performing at the level that we want. Is that our fear that we're holding, that other people have to take care of us because we've been the ones taking care of them. And you've supported so many people, family and friends and close people, and as a coach doing that. Now, that burden's tough, but also the burden of like getting your shit together, pulling yourself together when you can't even get up, and you have to be there for other people. Because during that window, like we'd spend a lot of times and like I'd get this whole like fat Paul look, and it's like, dude, I was like, I can't move, but he's like, I'm still coaching.
Yep.
You didn't stop coaching. Let's talk about like even in the darkest. Because would you say that was a dark time? Have you experienced things like that before or no?
Yes, I have. That was. Physically, that was the hardest thing I've ever done. Emotionally, it wasn't. So emotionally, I had been through more challenging things. But I got injured on Sunday. I'd prefer not to talk about it.
Sure. Yeah.
I got injured on a Saturday. My surgery was Sunday at 1:00. All of my client check-ins were done in the morning prior to my surgery. I had my laptop in the hospital bed.
So I think that that's a moment right there around like just self-accountability that creates an environment of a high standard. And not many people would do that. Most people would rely on excuses. Like even just preparing for this day, like there's a lot of moving parts. People have flown in from all around the world. You're getting your lifts in, training, coaching, all this other stuff. And it's like, hey, you just need to tell me exactly when you need me to be there and I'll be there. But I got to move other stuff around because people rely on me, but you need to let me know when you need me and then I'll take care of that. But if you don't tell me, then like, I don't know what's going on. Like, so you're very accountable, to those things. And then you take that serious.
My word is everything that I have. So if I'm going to show up for somebody, especially in an exchange of money for services, I want to over deliver on those services to make sure that that person gets the best of me at all times. And so while the best of me at that time wasn't to my standard, I tried to live up to it as much as possible, which is higher than everyone ever.
I was going to say, I don't think anyone else had that expectation. And number two, you never let their expectation lower your bar.
Exactly.
You basically said, that's great. I'm going to come through. Now, the problem is like, I probably can't over deliver my own expectation, but I could over deliver your expectation because our bars are at different places, different loads and different heights. So you have this kind of like, mantra and through line in your life of raising the bar. Did that come from watching the standards being so low, or did you have somebody that you identified with that the standard was so high? Where did they come from? Because normally there's a choice and there's like a beaten path and you go this way or you go this way. Where did that come from?
In like through my childhood, I've always had this feeling of inadequacy. Like I've always had this feeling of I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. Through a lot of work on myself, I have come to a point where I set the standard because the only person's opinion that matters to me is me. Because if I know that I'm showing up at my best, it is going to blow everyone out of the water.
Absolutely. No question.
And so now the raise the bar mentality is simply showing up at your best and pursuing every opportunity to elevate that. So you ask me, what was this the hardest thing you've ever been through? No, but the hardest thing I've ever been through is the hardest thing I've ever been through. So I will anchor that hardest thing to the hardest thing and continue to elevate that bar. So this bodybuilding prep, I blew my quads off a year ago.
Both. I just want to clarify that.
But the moment I got home from the hospital,
sure,
I was doing rehab for 8 hours a day. Whether it was blood flow restriction, PEMF, isometrics, my hip rehab exercises, the supplementation, my nutrition was perfect all throughout those first 5.5 weeks. Got out of the wheelchair. They told me walker for 4 weeks. I was in a walker for 4 hours. They told me hinge braces for another 6 weeks. Hinge braces were maybe 2 weeks, and then I was walking without them. I would only wear them when I was kind of out and about and I didn't want people to touch me because I was a bit worried about that.
Yeah.
By week 12, I could body weight squat full depth, no issues. By week 20, I was training, no issues, full depth. The only thing that took a little bit of time was hip flexion with deep knee flexion, something like a pendulum squat, just because of that force vector.
Sure.
But that came back probably around 24 weeks. And at that, I was training as if I was trying to be the biggest bodybuilder on the planet. Like I wanted to get my legs back, and I trained the exact same way all year. So when Olivia preps, I typically will prep. I'll do
it together a little bit. Summit. Like you're not probably competing at the same time, but you're like, I'm going to have that same level of focus.
Yep.
That support, both morally, like moral support of like, hey, we're in this together, right? Because there's a lot of people outside of the world that don't have those same goals of like, why are you doing that? Like, come on, like it's not that big deal. Like, hey man, like a grain of rice ain't gonna hurt you. I'm like, yeah, it will. It will.
There's no lights off on that stage.
Yeah. But that support that you there for your partner, that emotional support, right? And then also like the discipline is like, it goes so hard because it's hard enough. Like it's hard as it is. So like when you support your significant other through that, sometimes it's like a wake up call and going, wow, like I don't get that support, but I give that support, and it makes me feel fulfilled too. Do you get a sense of fulfillment knowing that you're there for her that way?
I get so much pride in seeing my wife pursue her athletic endeavors, her growing as a coach. Like, she is one of the best coaches I've ever met.
Oh, it's amazing.
And to have her on the team and to be the co-owner of the company is a true asset for us. But for me, I do get that support in return. Like, she's there every step of the way. She's my biggest fan, and I'm her biggest fan in return.
That's cool.
When I got injured was 5 weeks after she won her pro card. So she's still recovering from this.
Yeah, which is a hard recovery when you go that deep. When you start dialing in both nutrition and training it that much, it's like it like unravels at the end. Not in the sense of like everything falls apart, but it's actually very taxing on your system because you push it to a limit. People don't realize that your rebound, right? Like you're coming out of comp, not just your prep, but like coming out of comp is sometimes harder than going into it.
It's definitely more meticulous, and you have to be a lot more careful.
Most people like literally think that that's like once they're done with their prep, that's when it's over. And it's like, dude, you could really wreck your hormones.
You could really set yourself up for success if you do it properly.
Oh yeah, the rebound effect too, like as far as the ability to build muscle, this is where you see like off season on like certain cuts. I think everybody once a year, non-negotiable, should fast and then should do at some level a lean cut, some level, and they don't need to be like this. But the reason why that is that so great, that's great for your system. But what it's also doing is it sets you up to actually live an easier life. The leaner you are, the easier it is for you to get back in shape. People don't realize that.
Yeah. So
I'm a prime example of what that looks like.
I know this. Going through that process with Liv this time, I decided to start dieting. And around May, there's a company in Charlotte that does like mobile DEXA scans. Okay. We were both curious. I was like, I've lost about 10 pounds. I usually walk around like 241, 242. I was sitting at 231. I'm like, I wonder how lean I am. I was 12% body fat. And I was like, I think I'm going to prep. And Liv goes, do you think your legs are back? I said, there's only one way to find out.
Nice.
So I reached out to one of our coaches, Jaden Lacaria, who's a 212 pro. And I said, Jaden, prep me. We're going to put it on Instagram. We're going to promote your services.
Nice.
Prep. He did a phenomenal job. I felt amazing the whole way through prep.
It feels good to have a good coach.
Oh, and
people don't realize the power of that, so that you could just be the athlete mentally.
And I will always have a coach for my training.
Yeah, business coach, training coach, whatever it is, financial. Like the ability for you to, number one, like it's an insurance that they've been down this road before. They've seen that. They're at a different level than you. But it's like the ability for you, like, can I just take my focus and channel it and do my job? I don't want to have to think when I'm getting in there and working.
Yeah. So going through the prep, I got on stage and I looked my best ever. That's really, really cool. But what I'm most proud about is the fact that I continue to show up for my clients. I continue to show up for my mentees.
You get hangry?
Nope.
I get angry and I'm not prepping.
I made sure that the standard never dropped. In fact, it kept going up. The business grew during my prep. My ability to serve people grew.
I think that you when you take care of yourself, people take yourself that seriously. So you end up starting attracting better people too. And you're like, oh, this isn't what I'm used to being coached by. You know what I mean?
And, we talk a lot about building personal brand being so important to protect your business. I started putting out more content. I started talking more about my mindset, talking more about, you mentioned the word discipline. It's something I think about a lot because you could look at the last year and say, oh man, Paul's so disciplined. I'm not. I'm who I am, and who I am does those things. So it requires me no discipline when we take a lunch break yesterday for me to go out and do a kettlebell workout in the parking lot, come back in and be.
You did not.
I did.
I didn't. I can tell you I didn't.
I have kettlebells in the trunk. Turned my headphones on, did a 17-minute circuit, came back in, was present here, took 26 pages of notes.
It's awesome.
7 p.m. last night, go to the gym. Did I want to be there? No, but it's who I am. It's what I do. So all of these mentality shifts and introspection come through the pursuit of doing these hard things. And this year just simply galvanized my identity. I got asked, like, what did you learn through this process? And I learned I am who I say I am.
That's awesome. Like being a man of your word, but also like the way, like showing up's a really important thing.
Showing up.
Do you feel better when you're training and you feel like you're all in training? Like once you train, I know sometimes you don't have the motivation to train at the same level, but like What does it do for you mentally to train? Like, does it feel like, okay, like this is like, I feel good? Because a lot of times people train and they don't feel good. They don't like training. They just know they have to do it.
Honestly, training is like brushing my teeth at this point. It's just what I do. It's in my schedule every day to get some type of movement in. I love training. Like when I'm in the gym, I love it. There's some friction getting there sometimes, but the actual act of training is something that I love.
What do you say to somebody that hasn't got to that lifestyle habit part of it yet? Like, the performance gap is just doing the work every day and showing up. That's what most people don't realize, is creating that gap between everyone else. But if you needed to kind of kick off motivation for somebody who maybe doesn't have the same standards of you today. And again, I don't know if they'll ever get to that point. Like, I just don't think a lot of people understand the level of internal expectation you have for yourself. Like, I have a higher expectation of myself than the world has for me to create a standard. Maybe some people don't do that, but what do you say to the people that need to get started? What do you say to the people that are like, you know what, I need some motivation to get going? Where do you help them?
I think it comes down to purpose. Like if you have a purpose behind the training, a lot of our clients will come to us and say, hey, I want to lose 10 pounds, or hey, I have this injury, I want to rehab it. That's not a why. That's a goal. There has to be a purpose behind the goal. And what we do a lot with our intake process, with our motivational interviewing process, is figure out the deep motivation. It's, I want to lose 10 pounds because my wife isn't attracted to me anymore and I don't like the way I look in the mirror and my relationship is faltering. Or, a big motivator for me right now with the shift in my training towards more athleticism, function, conditioning is, I want to be a present and engaged father who can play on the ground with his kids.
It's a big deal.
At 250 pounds, however lean I am,
it hurts.
I'm not playing on the ground.
Yeah, it hurts. Like, you give you a little it hurts. It don't feel great.
And it ain't easy. To me, that is unacceptable. Being like that fatherhood goal for me, if and when we are privileged enough to have it, that is my why. So everything else becomes easy when you have purpose. So a lot of what we do with our clients is finding that purpose, whether it's, you want to be more capable with your family, or you want to have more confidence in the mirror. You want to show up in a boardroom with your dress shirt tight around your arms so you can, you show up. Listen, I don't care what anyone says. Your body is your business card. If something,
the way you look, you can't cheat or buy your way to it.
That's the issue. You show up in a boardroom. I was working with a lawyer.
Like, I can't buy a six pack.
That's true. Lipo.
Not my thing.
I'm working with a lawyer right now, and he has directly seen improvements in his outcomes as his body has changed.
Most people, because look, your self-image, right? The mirror, the way that you look at yourself, right, really is important. It's the foundation before confidence. Confidence is the way other people view you and how shaken am I by someone's perspective. But I have to have, if I have a very good view of myself and someone tells me something that's like, hey, well, you look like this, I'm like, well, I really don't care. Like, you can be delusional is one thing, but the other aspect is like, I know who I am. And that's like, knowing who you are develops the foundation of your confidence. And most people have those insecurities because they are very judgmental. They see their body and you're like, you know what, I'm not good enough.
I think confidence is built on evidence. So if you lack confidence, it's simply a lack of evidence towards whatever viewpoint that you're trying to establish of yourself. And the only way that you build evidence is through action. So that could be a motivator in and of itself to get you started. Hey, we need to act. We need to send it. We talk about sending it all the time.
Yeah, ship it, baby. They don't get paid if the package stays at home.
The only way you're going to get evidence on the path that you're taking, whether that's appropriate or not, is by trying the thing. So just getting that initial activation, getting people in the gym with a plan that is appropriate for where they are, meeting them where they are, and then creating a runway of progression as they move forward. Same thing goes with nutrition. I'm not going to put someone who's never tracked macros on a carb cycling approach. I'm going to teach them the benefits of protein. What foods contain proteins? Surprise, not peanut butter.
People don't realize, you want to sell something depressing, is how many calories are in peanut butter and how much, like, what is one serving of peanut butter? It was this much. Sucks. It's tiny. Yeah, I remember, like, I've known Justin Harrison, like, been with him for years, and Justin would laugh. We would talk about it all the time because people would, like, sneak in peanut butter, and I'm like, man, they have no idea how much fat they're getting in their body, and not a lot of protein to go with it.
I remember there was a point 3 weeks out of my prep, Jaden took my peanut butter out of my creamer ice, and I was like, it's getting now.
That's a fight. Those are fighting actions, man. You can't screw that up.
My calories got pretty low this time. It was like 1,700 calories, an hour of cardio a day, but I still felt great. I didn't, honestly.
Do you do your cardio in the morning or at night?
I do my cardio whenever I can get it in with my schedule.
Got it.
There's some days where, because to drive to the gym, train, and drive home is about 3 hours. Because it's about 30 minutes to the gym and back.
Oh, got it. I thought you meant like a 3-hour drive. It was like an hour and a half, like one way. Oh,
No.
Got it.
Yeah, so it's like a 3-hour window. It's the only 3-hour window I have is between 8 and 11. And so I'm not going to do cardio at 4 in the morning, eat a meal, and then go to the gym. So I'll usually do my cardio in the evening because we have cardio at home. Got it. So whenever I get my cardio and I get it in, ultimately it doesn't matter. It's just building a calorie deficit. And, routine-wise, if I can fit an hour of cardio in between meetings, I'm probably going to be more energized for those meetings after the cardio, as opposed to if you've ever been in a big deficit, that evening time, you're in a rough shape. Cognitively, you're just not present.
Yeah.
So splitting it up like that was really beneficial for me.
That's awesome. Let's talk a little bit about kind of like the power of autonomy a little bit. I think, as we heard his process, we know he's from Canada, because he's got a process. What, when it comes to like autonomy, like you're here now in the US, I don't think that move was a representation of just like, I want to go to a different country. That move was a representation of your freedom, your flexibility, your autonomy. It's like, I want to be able to do things and control my destiny. And sometimes you're in an environment where you can't control certain things because of the situation.
So we got a lot of, I don't want to use the word hate, but we had a lot of criticism from people when we decided to move to the US and we announced that we were actually moving and had.
I watched that happen and I was like, number one, I was like, fuck those people. But number two, I was also like, man, that's interesting. I was like genuinely like, that is an interesting thing that you're getting hate for doing something that's in the best interest of your family. Yep. And also for the faith that you have in yourself to do it, because a lot of people didn't think it was possible.
Well, people don't realize that was a 3-year process.
See, here we go again, process.
We had to, number one, make sure that our business qualified for the visa. So we had to make sure that we were generating at least 50% of our international business from American clients. And we needed to make sure that minimum was 30,000. Mm-hmm. We met that relatively easily, but then the visa itself costed 15,000.
Oh, the cost of moving and the cost of doing all this things like another full-time job.
All in all, total, it probably cost us about $60,000 cash. Mm-hmm. And then it cost us, in terms of time and everything like that. And honestly, getting here and setting up banking and the corporation.
Oh my God, what a pain in the neck.
Of itself, lawyer fees and stuff like that. It was a massive undertaking on our part and a leap of faith because we had to be confident in our ability to produce once we got here. To me, we made the best decision possible for our family. We made the best decision possible for our business. And Liv and I are both individuals who take full control over ourselves. We have agency. And I think people get stuck in challenging positions all the time. We got a lot of, oh man, it must be so nice to be in that position.
You weren't gifted that position.
Exactly.
I mean, I watched that position change and then the work change based upon the angle of the position you're in or the distance that you're in and proximity that you're in to getting there. Like your work changed to make that happen. That wasn't basically a gift. Like I'm very proud of you and Liv for doing that because not only did a lot of people say that, it wasn't possible. It's like, I love the whole, let the naysayers know. Shout out to Nick Saban and that Alabama crew. But there's this idea of like, yes, having agency for yourself, but it's basically removing the shit from people that don't believe in you. Because there's a lot of people, not just the hate you got, but there's a lot of people that were like, well, why are you doing that? You can't do that. And it's like, you're not that important in my life, so move on.
Liv and I say no a lot. We say no a lot to people. We say no a lot to things, events. We're very much if it's not a fuck yes, it's a no.
You definitely said no to carbs. This is a little,
Not anymore.
Not anymore. The last time I was on a call with you, it was like big bowl of rice. I'm like, your muscles are going to look amazing for like 2 weeks afterwards. You're going to feel great. All right. After being on stage.
That brookie Sunday that I had on
Was it nice? What did you eat
on Sunday?
Like, what was your biggest post? Like, what's the meal of gluttony?
Oh,
you had
the post-show meal. So Liv got me this like very large cookie that was like a cookies and cream like specialty cookie.
Not like a protein cookie. Not okay, I just want to make sure. Like,
then she got me a peanut butter praline cinnamon bun. I had half of each of those.
I'm a fat kid.
And then we went to dinner. At dinner, I had a triple burger with brisket and pulled pork on it.
Oh my goodness, that sounds amazing. I'm turned on there.
French fries.
Yes, sir.
A sweet potato casserole, which was actually the best part of the meal. It was so good.
Was it? Oh my goodness.
And then,
see, I wouldn't have gone that direction. That's a waste of my stomach.
Large piece of carrot cake.
I love carrot cake.
Then we got home and I finished the cookie and the cinnamon bun. And then
I'd have some bubble guts, but I'd be very, very happy.
And so what I did, we woke up the next morning. I did my cardio as I normally do. I fasted until about 11 a.m. because we had a photo shoot at 11 a.m. Had 2 Rice Krispie treats before the photo shoot.
You probably look great, right?
Amazing.
I was about to say, you probably look better. Just
super hydrated, nice and full, very vascular, thick, solid, tight, as they say. And then
I ain't gonna go there.
And then the next day I was right back on my plane. I put together a meal plan based on the energy expenditure that I estimated of the new training plan that I was on. And then that was about a week until the next Saturday. We all went out for dinner. I enjoyed a free meal. And then the next day I was back on my plan again. So our typical structure for Liv and I, whether it's off season or even the beginning of prep, she usually has a free meal during her plan. We eat on plan all week and then we go to date night and have something that we really enjoy. We don't tracking it. And just got back into my routine as quickly as possible.
That's awesome. We talked about like that autonomy. We talked about that freedom. Let's talk about like where that hard work comes from, because I think the hard work is what gives you your freedom. Like, we're no strangers to hard work.
And great examples, man.
And I think that, kind of going from this like strength coach at the college football level, right? It's like, it's literally like water down a protein shake, right back to it, 16 hours of work. You're basically like falling asleep in between sessions if you're able to. People don't understand, like, you're coaching all the time, to now it's like, wait a second, can I get great results for my people on my schedule so that I could coach you the right way and I don't have to be stuck in that strength coach grind. Most people today, they kind of jump to this online business, but they never had that in-person coaching experience. They've never had that coach over your shoulder and be like, you set up those cones like an inch off and you get your ass chewed out. You come from that background first, and then you decided, like, this isn't the life that I want. There is a better way. Everyone lied to you, or they didn't know any better. And you started to kind of carve out your path today based upon the hard work of the past. Like, what did the lessons in the weight room with, you're probably hitting a protein shake, skipping a bunch of meals during your strength coach whirls, not realizing how much sleep you've lost, not realizing probably how many years of your life you lost from grinding it out, to now saying there's a strategy and I don't have to grind it out. And now I can actually get great results. Are you in better shape today than you were when you were a strength coach at 10, 20 years ago? Okay. So like, you're able to give more to yourself, give more to your wife, give more to your clients, purely because you carved out your business and your life very differently than the way the industry says that you should do it.
Yeah, I don't espouse that hustle culture. I don't. It's completely off the table for me. And I mean, even before I was a strength coach, my dad immigrated here from Lebanon with $40, right? So I had that example. My mom has a degree in biochemistry and nutrition and has worked her tail off, making 6 figures in real estate for the last 30 years. I had hard work in my...
It's DNA.
And it was in my DNA. So when I moved to the US, it was fun for me to work that hard to a point.
Sure.
When you mentioned napping and whatever, I had a pillow in my office, and at Queens, I had a pillow in my office, and I specifically put like motivational quotes on the window of my mirror so no one could see in. And I would nap because I was in the weight room at 4:30 in the morning, because in Canada, you're a student athlete. In the US, you're a student athlete. I had to be in the weight room at 4:30 in the morning. I would coach until about 11. I had about 2 hours, and then I would start coaching again. And I wasn't able to get home until about 10.
Mm-hmm.
Totally different lifestyle. And then on the weekends, I had to attend games. I wanted to be an uncle to my nephew. So I was driving back and forth between Ottawa, which is about 2.5 hours. So there was very little time for anything else. I would sleep in my office. To then say, this isn't the way. And now I optimize for time. I say no a lot. And people will say, oh, you can't pour from an empty cup. I only pour from my overflow. So I invest into myself as much as possible. I talk about personal development. Yeah, that comes from, introspection, work on yourself, your mindset, also work on your body, work on your health, work on your nutrition. I can serve people better when my cup is overflowing.
It's the same thing with nutrition. Like how do you think I'm going to be able to give myself, put myself through a great workout if I'm under, nourished? It's the same thing with your health. It's the same thing with your mindset.
Mm-hmm.
This, where did it come from to shift and go, I want to jump from this college strength coach scene to I want to run a business now? Because the business that I was in, meaning the structure, the infrastructure of the college sports athletic environment, the business environment, and go, yeah, that's not the way I want to coach.
For me, it came when I could no longer show up for the athletes the way that I wanted to show up for them because of the infrastructure that I had around me.
And even at Robert Morris, I would imagine you're coaching all sports, right? Because Robert Morris didn't have, I remember when Milo was the strength coach there and then that handover to Todd, there wasn't individual coaches based upon Olympic sports, the main prior sports. It just wasn't set up.
I had women's basketball, softball, field hockey, softball, field hockey, and I had one other team that I'm forgetting.
They probably were sorry.
Women's lacrosse.
They better now. They were trash back then. Sorry.
But then I was also the first assistant for football, men's basketball, men's lacrosse, soccer. So again, in the weight room 5 a.m., out of the weight room 8 p.m. or 5 p.m. because I usually had class in the evening.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had to study, I had to do projects, I had to get a degree. So all of that was happening on top of me continuing to compete in powerlifting because I was competing at that time as well. And I did it. Hard work was fine. But at the point when I was at Queens, now I'm no longer a student. I'm responsible. So I had 15 teams, 500 student athletes total. I also had 50 interns. I had to teach a class.
The most exhausting part about those damn interns.
All in 37.5 hours because it was a unionized position. So I had no overtime pay. I only had time in lieu, but I couldn't take that time in lieu because I had no assistant and I had no one to run the teams if I was to take the vacation time off. So the infrastructure around the position wasn't set up for me to be successful in any area of my life.
Got it.
And I couldn't escape it. That was the biggest light bulb moment. This is not the way to do things.
Yeah, and you redesigned it.
And I redesigned it. So now I still work probably 10 hours a day.
No, but it's different when you do what you love.
Exactly.
And the way you want to.
I love every moment of the day every moment of my day is orchestrated. You look at my schedule, it's blocked. Everything is scheduled, whether it's my training or my meals or my meetings, it's all in there so that I can be in control of my time, say yes to things I want to say yes to, say no to things I want to say no to.
Nice.
And to me, that is, Jocko will say discipline equals freedom. I'm a firm believer in that. And the counter argument is, well, if you're so organized, what if something throws a wrench in it? Bro, I have buffer time for that. Are you not organized enough to figure out buffer time? Anyway, that's neither here nor there. To me, the discipline comes from that throughway. So you are establishing motivation initially. You have something that you want to pursue. Your motivator. Yeah, your purpose. The discipline comes from establishing the habits. But once the habits are established and part of your identity, it's no longer discipline. It's just who you are.
Yeah.
So this is how I operate. And I teach others how to operate in the same manner. And I will say, some people don't know how to work hard.
No.
Some people don't know how to.
But if you're going to put the energy in the right area, energy out there, you might as well put it in the right area so you gain truth of like, well, shit, this actually works. Yeah, if you do it well and you do it right in the right direction. And we talk about like, hey, you build it the right way the first time, all the time, and then all the things, work out. But most people do a lot of energy expenditure in the wrong direction. They don't know the right path.
Yeah, people do that. They jump from thing to thing before they have enough evidence to know if the thing they were doing was the right path. They second guess all their decisions and they try to be perfect right off the bat. But even that idea of overthinking and trying to be the perfectionist mindset to me is the biggest fallacy. It's an excuse to procrastinate.
I was going to say the perfectionist issue, and again, procrastination, I actually think that I'm smarter the later I do the work. So therefore I'm showing up better. But I think the reason why people are perfectionists is because they're insecure to put it out there. They're insecure to take action. Perfectionism is a direct correlation to the insecurity to show up on stage.
I look at it, I agree with you. I'll add another layer. The other layer I will add is that they are they're so egotistical that they know what's best when it's the customer that determines what's perfect or not. Because you don't know whether it's perfect until you get feedback on it. I might write the perfect program in my eyes, the most scientific, evidence-based program, nutritionally, training-wise. But until that person in front of me does that program, I will not know what the effects are. I can't predict the future. Tim, you have to ship it. Send it out. Ultimately, the first program that I write for somebody, because we write our programs, because I still coach clients. I'll never stop coaching clients. The first program I write, the only things that I make sure of is, am I exposing you to end ranges? Am I putting you in a position to showcase your movement qualities? And is this something in the neighborhood that I feel you can recover from a volume and intensity perspective? And then I iterate.
Yeah.
But you can't do it out.
You can't iterate without volume, like in the sense of repetitions. You need quantity.
And that's why we establish a weekly update to the training. So I can weekly update on your training. And there are farther reaching benefits to that. You want to talk about client engagement. You want to talk about communication. You want to talk about buy-in. If they know that their results are predicated on the amount of feedback that I get from them, guess what? They're going to be more engaged and bought into the process.
Yeah. Who are some of the bigger influences, whether it be earlier in your career on the sports science side or into the training side? Like, who are the earlier coaching influences, like training wise, that has absolutely kind of shifted? Like, hey, you just talked about, working with Ron and working, with Hammer. Like, who are the earlier training influences when you were kind of learning?
The first person who ever taught me about having multiple revenue streams in strength and conditioning was Ron. He's always had his hands in multiple.
Oh, yeah. CEO strength coach. Yeah.
CEO strength coach.
He's old school and really good. And he's always been kind of he's been well ahead of the curve. I've always said pioneers don't get paid. But Ron's been really smart to like adopt principles outside of strength and conditioning and say, wait a second, the infrastructure of my industry is not set up well. Let me go ahead and pull it in from another environment and bring it in. I also have found that, spending time with Ron in so many environments, both coaching, speaking, business, it's just a good dude. Makes it kind of easy when he's a good dude.
Yeah, he and I clashed quite a bit because I was a very stubborn young man.
Well, I think that's different in the sense of like when you're coaching. I'm talking about from an influence standpoint in the sense that I can imagine, like I clash with a lot of my coaches because that's what made them really good coaches, is that they pushed me to limits that made me uncomfortable. And then they got that good feedback. Like I have been mother effed a bunch in my athletic career. Shocker, right? Which is what has made me good and resistant to, like I'm very good as a student in the sense of as an athlete, I flip a switch and I know nothing, I do my job. But I definitely in the earlier stages as a coach, as I was very resistant, and that gave me some oomph. On the influence side of things, like where do you think you clashed with him? That's a thought process to kind of go through.
I thought I was the smartest person in the room. I thought I knew everything. I'd read all the books, I'd read all the manuals, all the Russian texts, everything. And he basically told me to sit down, shut up, and listen. And then
we're all grateful that those Russian texts are translated to English, by the way. You'll know why.
Then I was exposed to Frank Wintrick, who was his first assistant. That was my first like real mentor on the training side. I still find myself referencing things that Frank has taught me. From USF, I moved over to Robert Morris, worked with Todd Hammer. I also would travel back and forth between Penn State and work with Cam Davidson. Mark Watts is another coach who's on a personal level, on an athlete relationship level.
Cam's got great hair, by the way.
Cam does. He just got a job at NC State.
Nice. Good dude.
Those gentlemen were incredible. Then when I was at Queens, I was kind of on my own, but I was entrenched in the elite FTS environment. So I got to learn from Dave. I got to learn from all the coaches who were associated with elite, with Julia Ladowski.
Julia's awesome.
Julia's amazing. And then from there, I got involved with Brian Carroll and his team. So working with Brian Carroll, I ended up working with Chad Wesley Smith for a brief period. But one of the things that I've always adopted is, you spoke about it yesterday, you don't have to take everything from each person.
No.
You can pick and choose. And I did that very early on. There were a lot of things for each coach that I just didn't vibe with. But I managed to use the things that did and create a system and a process that fit with me. On the business side of things, that's where I feel like early on, I didn't necessarily have a lot of influences. I was primarily focused on how can I provide the best service possible for my people. And that was iterated over time because I've always had a coach. So I've learned about each coach's process and I've taken pieces from each one.
But in the business side of things, if you take care of the client, I mean, that will last the test of time. Whereas business methods and strategies may adjust over time, but nothing like that will go out of style. And I think sometimes like all relationships are ruined because of mismanaged expectations. And if you absolutely take care of the customer, that will never go out of style.
I always come back to the fact that if, say right now, you are building your business and you have 10 clients, if you blew them away with service to the point where they could not stop singing your praises to anyone and everyone who they met, and each one of them referred you a single person, you just doubled your revenue.
Of course.
Do that again, you doubled your revenue. That's how I built my business. I've never invested in ads. I have paid to boost a single post one time for 3 days.
Was it when you had your six pack? Because that's what I want. If I have a six pack, I'm hosting that. I'm gonna boost that bitch right away. I'm telling you right now.
No,
I'm serious.
It was really.
If I'm shredded, like full on, like not, I'm telling you right now, I'm boosting the crap out of it.
It was
I'm letting you guys right now know I'm going to pimp out my six pack when I get it. The whole thing. I might even go to Turkey and get my hair did. No chance.
Yeah, it was a really bad VSL for the mentorship.
So, but I think that's important to know that, like when you organically grow, it lasts the test of time.
Yeah.
So, and I think that every step of the way you are, you're not just setting the standard, you're raising the bar. And I think that, we tell our staff, and they all don't come from my high performance environment. And they don't all come from the sports background. So sometimes they're a little bit more sensitive to, like the directness that we have. But I say like, hey, the standard is the bar that you jump over, not the one that you knock down, because a high jumper, has to get over the bar. It's not where you set the bar. It's the bar that you actually clear.
Hard work gets you in the door.
Yeah.
It's the cost of entry. It doesn't set you apart. I always used to love it when I was interviewing young coaches and they'd say, I'm a hard worker. I'm like, and? Yeah, everyone here is a hard worker.
Yeah, I say it a lot because it's probably one of the most impactful quotes growing up by somebody who I looked up to, which is arguably one of the best basketball coaches of all time, Pat Riley, which is hard work never guaranteed anything, but without it, you don't have a chance.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a difference between some people just don't have hard work, that hard hat method in their DNA. I do, you do. But if you have that, and you want to put it out there and do the right work, and you then do it the right strategy, then it becomes super valuable. So I appreciate you not only just setting the standard, but I appreciate you raising the bar, because as you raise the bar in the industry, it raises the bar around you for other people. And immediately people go, oh, wow, that they need that pressure, pressure burst pipes. So the more that you could be around that, the more opportunity for you are to create diamonds. And I think you're going to find more good people in your world by just continuing to raise the bar.
Appreciate it, man.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. And we'll see you again next time. Look good. All right. Looking all right, man. Thank you so much.
Jake, appreciate you. Absolutely.